Huge win for Johnny Depp. AH has got to be sweating. I'm so excited because we got Christopher Melcher here to break down this latest victory.
Thanks for having me on, Andy.
Always happy to have you, my man. I'm Andy Signore, and yes, so happy to be here. Team Johnny Depp, you're going to be excited to hear this news if you haven't already. And those of you who've been watching my free Britney coverage, I finally got my shirt in here. You guys have to start paying attention to this story as well. Johnny Depp has gotten so screwed by a lot of things here, and I do really believe the man needs justice. I know a lot of people sort of avoid this topic or say, hey, they're both crazy. Look, when you really learn and dig deep into this case, it's clear that the woman against him, we call her AH because literally this woman has shut this channel down. Her bot fans, the people, the overlords that control this. I don't know. Guys, I'm not making this up. It's crazy. They literally shut my channel down and I had to fight back and make a big cry to get it back, which I did thanks to some amazing people out there. But it's wild what's happened to him. And so I want to break down because she has been trying to throw out this recent case he's filed in Virginia. I got to be careful on the terms I use. In fact, do I still have I don't have it here. Usually I have a warning that I put on here. Human reviewer, if you're watching this, please be fair. I'm saying nothing against my terms of service. I don't know why we have to say this every time. In fact, do you get an ad? It's my ad test when I do Johnny videos because literally, Christopher, this is insane. Every time I do a video on this topic, it's held back, it's limited, it's censored. It's crazy. Have you seen any of this yourself?
Well, I've definitely heard about it, and it's, I guess, the computer's scanning all this stuff and making decisions, but everything you're saying is always fair and balanced, so nothing wrong with what's happening.
And not against the community guidelines anyway. There's certain words we got to be careful because they just trigger the AI, and it's a frustrating. And then when they do that, the video doesn't get shared. And I want to make sure that it gets shared. So, all right. So Johnny Depp has now responded. He's gratified that AH, as we call her, has failed to get the $50 million defamation suit tossed. She sought a dismissal based on the UK libel verdict. Now, all right. So just to recap for those that don't know. Johnny sued The Sun in the UK, which is a publication. It's a gossip magazine. I'm going to call it for what it is. And they put a headline out, and they called him something that alleged to something that she said he did. And you'll have to use your assumption, or hopefully you know what I'm talking about, because if I refer those words, that's when suddenly the YouTube overlords crush down upon us. Johnny was suing for defamation, saying that it wasn't true. He had to go against The Sun to prove that it wasn't true. However, the UK court decided, well, it's substantially true. But what was really frustrating about that case, if you had watched it and followed along, it really felt like a one-sided thing. Amber got to come in and sort of say her piece, and then the judge was like, okay, I believe her. All that evidence and everything that Johnny brought to the table to sort of counteract everything that AH had brought in seemingly just didn't matter. He didn't think it mattered, yada, yada. In fact, he believed her because she gave $7 million to charity. Who would be such a gold digger? That doesn't seem like a gold digger to me. She gave all her money to charity. All this stuff, so just defend. Johnny drinks. He must have done it, was really sort of what the ultimate summary was. It was immensely unfair. Johnny tried to appeal. The UK is like, no. Johnny tried to appeal knowing like, hey, there's evidence here. She didn't even give that money that was part of your verdict. I'm the judge. I made my opinion. I'm not going to change my opinion. Sorry, no appeal. Case over. Case closed. So AH tried to use this in her favor, and I guess suppose wise by her and her legal team, right, Christopher? I mean, yes, smart move to try and use this as a way to say, well, they deemed it was true. So why are we even having this case? You should just be tossing this $50 million case. But that's not what happened, Christopher. So we have the documents. We're going to break all this down, but I want you guys to have a quick recap for those who maybe don't know what's going on in this story. Christopher, summary of what's happening. This tossing out of Amber's seeking to sort of dismiss this is a huge victory for Team Depp, correct?
It's a gigantic victory, and he really needed to do this. And if we back up a step on the UK action, the UK law is obviously different than the US. We have a First Amendment, and the UK does not. And that's one of the reasons why we broke off from England, is because we wanted these rights. So when he sued in the United Kingdom, there's the publication, The Sun, had to prove that their statement about him was true. That's completely different than how it works in the U.S. If you sue somebody for libel or defamation, you have to prove it's false. So he had a leg up in the UK action, but what was different is that he was suing The Sun. He was not suing her.
Right.
And that we're going to see when we go through what this opinion that was just released yesterday.
What is this?
That is going to be a hallmark of that decision.
This is from 19th Judicial Court of Virginia, where he's filing this, and this is from the judge, right? This is an opinion letter of sort of why the dismissal was thrown out.
Yeah, so there was a request to throw out Johnny's case in Virginia, and we can also talk about why he's suing there. But she was trying to get his case tossed in Virginia based on the findings that were made in the UK action, and that was a good legal maneuver on her part. And now in this long opinion or decision by the Virginia court, they are going through and analyzing all of her claims on trying to have the UK findings binding on Johnny in the Virginia case.
Which is just wild because she was the only witness, right? She wasn't there. There were a lot of, and I see a lot of Johnny fans out there, and I'm giving props to one, Laura. Always appreciate Laura's insight on all this. But this analysis even points out he did not have a full and fair opportunity to present his case. Amber was only a witness and not required to participate in any discovery. And then this opinion letter even says at the very end, acknowledging this. All this stuff. It's a very a lot of people claiming it's not a fair trial, but the real evidence was that he just did not have a fair and I thought I had the exact wording here, but Christopher, it's not that he didn't have a fair trial. He didn't have a fair opportunity in the evidence presented. Correct?
That's right. We had to keep in mind these are two separate cases against two different people. In the United Kingdom, Johnny was suing The Sun, that publication that made a statement about him in its publication in England. In the Virginia case, he's suing Amber. AH. And so there's a difference there. They're not the same parties. The legal systems are different, obviously, in the U.S. and the U.K. And so he may have had a fair enough trial under UK law against The Sun, but since she was not a party to that UK action, Johnny could not question her to the fullest extent that he could or can in the Virginia case. He couldn't get all of the information in the UK action from her that he could or can get in the Virginia case. So there's a difference. In the UK case, since he was only suing The Sun, he couldn't go after her as a third party as aggressively or completely than he can in the Virginia case because he is actually suing her, and our laws are going to allow more inquiry into things that the UK court wouldn't allow. And that's what this statement is getting to, is that there's that whatever happened in the UK case was not Johnny versus AH. And so we're not going to use the UK findings in the Virginia case.
All right. So I want to get through. So basically, overall in this document, because it's a little long, it's a lot of legal law school, as Christopher sort of said. Can you sort of run us down what this new information, sort of the summary for us, if you will? I
Sure.
can scroll through. So it starts with a background, then analysis. Go ahead.
So when so if you get sued like she is, you have defenses, and so one of her defenses is saying, hey, we've already litigated. This question has already been determined by the UK court, and all of those determinations by the judge in England should be used here in this Virginia case, and to therefore end it right now. We've already fought about this. AH won over there, she claims, so therefore I should win over here. That's basically what she's saying in some legalese.
Got it.
And so that's the whole thing that the court is going through, and it's looking at comparing the UK action versus the Virginia action and saying, are these similar or are they dissimilar? So are they close enough to each other so we can use the findings from one court case for another court case? That's what all this legal stuff is about.
So this is the legal standard, the collateral estoppel. All of this is just sort of the court deciding and proving, well, no, they aren't the same.
Exactly. The cases relate to similar issues, but they're between two different parties. One in England is against the Sun, and the one in Virginia is against AH. So they're not against the same parties. The rights of inquiry that Johnny had in the UK were limited against AH, but they are not limited in Virginia. There is a right to a jury trial in Virginia, but in the English accent, it was an English judge that was deciding it. So when you put all of those things together, the Virginia court says, these are two different cases. We're not using any of the findings by the English judge. We are going to basically take this Virginia action and pretend as if there was no Virginia case.
Yeah, it's interesting because
English
case, right? It's interesting because I've seen some other people sort of point this out. Like when Justice Nichols, who did the UK court case, I see the force in Mr. Sherburne's Depp's counsel's points that a reasoned decision, which I shall have to give after the trial, will be vindication for whatever party is successful on a different order than a bald verdict of jury. Of course, I mean, to disrespect the procedure adopted in Virginia. I mean, the judge is basically saying, yeah, whatever we do here will sort of decide the verdict of all of this. So no disrespect, though, to you Virginia courts who are still, is really how this reads, correct, Christopher?
Yeah, they're saying, hey, we're an English court in England, and we're going to do it the English way. And, you know, we understand that you people in the U.S. do things differently, and we don't mean any disrespect to you for your different laws.
Well, they took disrespect because now ironically, Judge Penny, a different Judge Penny, mind you, it's with an EY, thank God. We don't have to worry about this Judge Penny. Hopefully, we'll find out if we do. But not only are the laws in the UK different than Virginia, but so many are procedural laws, blah, 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 blah. Instead of the case is liable based on a reasoned decision of one judge as opposed to a bald verdict jury. Of course, this court means no disrespect to the procedure adopted in the UK. There's clearly a little bit of like I saw what you did there. Yeah, we got our own thing going, which I like. It shows they're paying attention and they want to do this the right way. They don't want to just be like, yeah, sure, it was done. Moving on, next one.
Yeah, it's kind of a Southern kind of remark here that there is loaded. And so you definitely are looking at that, and they are being respectful to each other. They're saying that, hey, we have different systems of law, and we're going to do our own things, and we're not bound by what happens in England. This decision by Judge Penny, I mean, to me as a lawyer, it's great. I mean, it's a very detailed analysis. It applies the law, does so in a really conscientious way that anyone reading it would come to the same conclusion. And that's what we love of our courts when we have a really good judge doing it, as opposed to what happened in the United Kingdom, where it's like one judge out there hearing all this evidence, and we're saying, as listeners, like, wow, we believe Johnny, or some of us do, and that the other side was impeached. There was a lot of misstatements there that we saw. And why did the court come down the way it did in England? And maybe we can't follow that logic as easily as we can here in this letter.
Right. And I also like this part. It's like this would have a chilling effect. It's a dangerous precedent. If defendants claim that refusing to recognize the UK's judgment's case would set a dangerous precedent is unfounded. In fact, allegedly defamed parties are more likely to bring suit in England in general. If anything, upholding English judgment and use it would create a chilling effect and could create dangerous precedent. Accordingly, the court is not persuaded. Yeah, I agree. There's still a lot that Johnny's going to have to do, but this is a good step in the right direction that at least the judges are taking this seriously and acknowledging, hey, look, that was a completely separate thing. So this man is not guilty of this. Let's look into this further. Now this is what he's charged with here, and I applaud this judge. I applauded Judge Penny for once for doing the job, Christopher. So I'm curious, why you didn't say it? Why Virginia?
So it's what I really call forum shopping. So when you have a defamation case, you have the media publishing these things and papers publishing them all over the world, certainly all over the United States. And that gives some opportunity to go to different jurisdictions or states to determine where you're going to sue. When he sued in Virginia, they had an easier legal system to bring these type of claims. And so basically obviously the First Amendment applies all throughout the United States. But in Virginia, they made it easier to sue for defamation. They recognize there's a First Amendment right to speak and that cases could be dismissed for exercising your First Amendment right and being sued for it, but they didn't have a special procedure in Virginia to knock the case out immediately. We have that in California and many other states. If, for example, there was a suit made in California for defamation and involved a matter of public interest, we could get that thing whacked quickly and the person sanctioned. Virginia didn't have that. That's why he sued in Virginia, because they couldn't whack his case immediately. They're trying to change that now in Virginia, and I think they have strengthened their laws because they don't want all these suits. There was Devin Nunes who also sued in Virginia because he liked the law there. So they're trying to clamp down because they don't want all these people coming in. But he survived all of these legal challenges.
Yeah, so he's in now. He's doing it, and then you had something else interesting. Like, this is still an uphill battle for him, right? This is because you even said he's got to prove it's false. We have lots of evidence that she's lied, that she's been caught in lies. Does that help? Does that help in sort of proving the case, or is it still like, what does he need to prove here to make Team Johnny Depp, Justice for Johnny Depp fans? What should we be looking for and rooting for in order for him to have a shot at this?
Well, it's going to be with a jury, so he's going to have to, and both sides are going to be looking at jurors that they think are going to identify with their client. And, this is a different time. Things have changed over the last year or two. And so I think there's some understanding of the backlash that's happened, that the very quick rush to judgment that's occurred, where somebody makes an allegation and then they automatically conclude that it must be true, and then they're canceled. So we are now, I think, beyond that and saying, hey, we have to take time. We have to respect that there's two sides to a story and not make conclusions. So I think we're in a better environment for Johnny to have this done. We've also now seen that he's developed evidence about this charitable contribution thing. There's other things. He's been through this long trial with the son. So he's going to come in already knowing the weak spots of what happened to him last time, and he can up his game this time. Of course, she'll try and do the same, but I think that with the misstatements, and as you've mentioned earlier on this channel about Roberta Kaplan, her prior lawyer, previously saying, oh, this op-ed piece had nothing to do with Johnny, and then now they're saying, oh, of course it had everything to do with him. So a lot of that stuff can be brought out to say, hey, there are shifting sands here. When you make one statement and then you make a different statement that's inconsistent with it, we now undermine credibility.
Yep.
So he will definitely have a leg up here. And the other thing is, like, how is she paying for this stuff?
Right. I was just about to ask you, because you made a good point. I want fans to realize, like, look, I know a little bit more. I've been following this. His man's career has been completely demolished. Like, every studios are firing him. He's actually losing work, all helping his case that he's actually been damaged, right? She has not lost a thing yet. She's still part of Aquaman 2. They have not fired her. While fans are upset about that, it almost helps Johnny, because it's just proving, see what happened? Nothing happened to her for lying and being caught on tape for things. But somehow Johnny's gone because of the appeal. I think they're all going to regret this later. But that's where we're at. But the reality is, Johnny, I think, just really, look, I've always said this, Christopher, and I'm curious, like, what person who's lying would go through this procedure, these court battles, the amount of money, all of this? Why would you put yourself through this ringer if you weren't really, like, adamant, like, I didn't do it? I feel like it's really like a dangerous thing to do if you're guilty, to keep pushing and doing multiple trials that are going to find this. Do you disagree with that logic?
Well, yeah, it's dangerous for him no matter what happened. I mean, that was one thing I was questioning with the UK action, is that, you really put yourself out there. It would have been easier to just do a press release saying, hey, I deny all this, none of it happened, I'm a good guy, and leave it there. But once you go into litigation, you expose yourself to a lot of things. And there were a lot of personal and embarrassing details that came out as a result of the UK action. And some of these were self-inflicted wounds because he brought that case. Now, I have to think he was banking on UK law, putting the burden on the Sun to prove the truth of its publication rather than the falsity of it. So I think he was banking that he would win that. He would then parade the ruling around saying, hey, I did nothing wrong, and everything would be restored. But obviously that didn't happen. So he kind of had this really bad wound from that case. Now he's really has no choice but to bring this case to come in and say, hey, the UK one wasn't a fair or complete hearing. I am now going head on head against AH, and we're going to have our day in court, and hopefully, if he's successful, then would have his name cleared. But I don't know, is the damage done? Is it too late? Is he going to be as relevant anymore after this happens? We don't know, but there is definitely a retribution element here, because she's got to be paying her own attorney's fees unless she's convinced somebody to work for free, and she's going to get blood dry.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. You said this, like, this is costing a fortune now, and this is what now that charity money that she promised is going towards this, which is such a lie that her attorneys tried to spin, because that deal, their settlement, she had that money for a year to pay off those charities and then didn't. Well, I'm holding off, and now she's like, well, I have to pay all these lawyers. She had a year. She had $7 million in the bank for a year and told everybody she paid. And then let's not only talk about it, this is the ACLU. This is the ACLU who's like basically hiding and trying to cover up the fact that she didn't donate, or that Elon Musk gave the money on her behalf and now is just trying to save her butt. Like the American Civil Liberties Union, like, and you wonder why we're like a little paranoid and wondering who's really paying attention to this. Time's up. Exactly. Roberta Kaplan was on top helping her. We've just learned she's a fraud. She's been doing whoever pays her the most. It's there. If you really follow this case and follow the money and all the things here, Chris, it's wild, because there's a lot of really important and seemingly, justice organizations that I feel like have been doing some very shady things because they thought, well, yeah, get rid of that guy. Who cares? This is easy.
Yeah, this is the problem, is that, I mean, it's a challenge for all of us. It's like we should be speaking the truth and speaking out for things, not just doing things that we think are popular or what people want to hear. And that's what's driving a lot of this. And it's people are afraid because, if you say the wrong thing, or if you support somebody's right to even defend themselves or even question, hey, is there evidence to support this allegation? You get attacked. So I understand all that, and I'm hoping that through this case, we're going to see the damage that can be done to even somebody like Johnny Depp. I mean, he's been in the business so long, he's been very, very popular, and he got attacked through this story. And so I'm hoping that we're going to learn lessons from it. But they're both trashing themselves through all this stuff, and it's just bizarre. Most celebrities are going to avoid this like the plague. They're not going to want legal battles going through all of their personal dealings, but this is what's happened here. We rarely get an inside look like this. Yeah,
and just to wrap things up, because I could talk about this a lot, and we will. Make sure, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts. All this happens because I'm passionate about this case. Because look, I was falsely accused myself, and so I can't imagine what Johnny's going through. But to be in a toxic relationship, I'm sure it wasn't easy for either of them. I'm sure it was just a mess, a lot of screaming, whatever. I'm not disputing any of that. But when you make a specific allegation about someone, or assume just because they're drinking they did something more extreme, and the only evidence we have of that is actually the tape of it being the other way around, it's really disturbing, because it can happen to men too. It really can. And when you actually look at this case and the character witnesses and everything, I just don't buy it. And the more I've learned and talked to people who know her, it's not good. It seems like we are in a bitter, divorce of two people who are just really wounded and hurt. And Johnny at this point is just so offended by, like, I think you're right. I think he's like, I'm bleeding her. I'll do whatever I have to do to burn this woman down for her accusing me of that. And I could see where that anger is coming from. I can understand why one would do it, but at the same time, I don't know why he would do it if he didn't feel like he had the truth on his side. I just think this is such a suicide mission otherwise, to find out, the truth always wins, guys. It does. No matter, sometimes the courts don't always find it, but at a certain point, karma and the truth always find their way. That's what I've discovered in Hollywood, everywhere. It always comes around. And so I would be shocked if we suddenly found out that we were all wrong and no, Johnny was doing all these things Amber said. I don't know. So I think she is a narcissistic person who is just tripling down on a bet that she thought was going to be such clear sailing for her. And I think at this point, there's some serious cracks clearly forming in what they thought was an undefensible, an easy win here. And we're realizing, no, this was a much more complicated story. And these studios who rushed to pick a side on this should have just stepped out. Like we all should. Let's be honest, Christopher. We should all avoid custody, divorce. Like, who the hell knows what the truth is in those cases? Because so much emotion, right? You're a divorce attorney. Can you attest? A lot of people turn into people they're not when custody and when divorces happen, right? It's like the worst versions of ourselves.
Well, that's right. And we want to avoid all of that. Obviously, sometimes we can't, but courts don't tell the truth. They make findings based on evidence that's presented, and sometimes that cannot reflect the truth. And so this is the problem, is we never want to be in a position where we're going to court. But here we have two people who are absolutely headed to court, and win or lose, the loser is going to say, I got a bad rap in Virginia, and they're going to continue. No one's going to ever say, oh yeah, I lied.
Right. Sadly,
they're going to maintain that, and really it's the public who will be the judge.
Well, there you go. Christopher, I always appreciate you being here. Check out Christopher's channel. I'll put the link in the description down below. Always appreciate his insight. I love you coming on here. I appreciate you. Any final words?
Well, thanks for having me on, and we'll keep following this one.
We got a lot to follow. This case is still a year. I think next year it's finally happening, but stay tuned. I will constantly be covering this case for you all to make sure we know what's going on here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet.